The slap echoed through the coffee shop like a gunshot. "Don't you ever touch me again." A 26-year-old medical student stood over a 74-year-old woman, her hand still raised, her face twisted with disgust. "Don't you ever touch me again, you filthy homeless woman." "I hear you, my—" The old woman didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just looked up and smiled. 2 weeks later, that same medical student walked into her hospital orientation, ready to start her dream career. And standing at the podium in a $3,000 suit was the homeless woman she had slapped. What happened next destroyed everything she had ever worked for. The morning started like any other for Seraphina Grant, but by noon, her entire life would begin to unravel. The Starbucks on Peachtree Street in downtown Atlanta was packed. Lawyers in tailored suits, tech workers with laptops, college students cramming for exams. And in the corner, sitting alone at a small table near the window, was an old woman. Her name was Elara Thorne, but nobody in that coffee shop knew that. All they saw was a woman who looked like she had nowhere to go. Her clothes were old, a faded brown cardigan with patches on the elbows, a simple cotton dress that had been washed too many times, sandals that had seen better days. Her gray hair was wrapped in a plain black scarf. No makeup, no jewelry, no designer bag. Just a small cup of tea and a worn Bible sitting on the table in front of her. She looked like someone's grandmother who had wandered in from the street. And in Atlanta, a city that prided itself on luxury and status that made her invisible. Mama Elara didn't mind. She had learned a long time ago that being invisible had its advantages. You see things clearly when people forget you're watching. She sipped her tea slowly and watched the young people rush around her. Everyone was in a hurry. Everyone was important. Everyone had somewhere to be. She smiled softly. 74 years on this earth had taught her patience. The door swung open, and a young woman walked in like she owned the place. Seraphina Sarah Grant, 26 years old, 5'7", designer sunglasses pushed up on her head, a Chanel bag hanging from her shoulder, Lululemon leggings, and a cropped hoodie that cost more than some people's rent. She was beautiful, the kind of beautiful that came from good genetics, expensive skincare, and never having to worry about money a single day in her life. Her father was a doctor, one of the most successful plastic surgeons in Atlanta. Her mother was a former beauty queen turned real estate investor. Sarah had grown up in a mansion in Buckhead. Private schools, luxury vacations, a BMW for her 16th birthday. And in 3 months, she would graduate from Emory Medical School and begin her residency at Grady Memorial Hospital, one of the most prestigious programs in the Southeast. Everything in her life had gone exactly according to plan, because Seraphina Grant did not lose. She didn't wait in lines. She didn't settle for less. And she certainly didn't tolerate being inconvenienced by people who were beneath her. Sarah walked straight to the counter, cutting past 2 people who had been waiting. "Excuse me," a man in a business suit said, frowning. "There's a line." Sarah didn't even look at him. "I'm in a rush," she said, already scanning the menu. "Venti oat milk latte, extra shot. Make it fast." The barista, a young black woman with braids and tired eyes, blinked. "Ma'am, there are people ahead of—" Did I stutter? Sarah snapped. "I said I'm in a rush. Some of us have actual careers to get to." The barista's jaw tightened, but she nodded, coming right up. Sarah smirked and tapped her credit card on the counter. Victory, as always. She grabbed her drink 2 minutes later and turned to find a seat. The coffee shop was full. Every table taken, every chair occupied, except one. There was an empty seat at the small table near the window, right across from the old woman in the faded cardigan. Sarah's eyes swept over Mama Elara with barely concealed disgust as she walked over. "Excuse me," Sarah said, her voice sharp. "I need this table." Mama Elara looked up slowly. Her eyes were deep brown and calm. There was no fear in them, no surprise, just quiet observation. "I'm sorry, my daughter," Mama Elara said gently. "I am sitting here." Sarah's lip curled. "I can see that, but I need a table. And you're just sitting here alone, taking up space." She gestured at the small cup of tea. "You're not even buying anything real. This isn't a homeless shelter." A few people nearby glanced over. Mama Elara's expression didn't change. "I bought my tea," she said calmly. "I have as much right to this seat as anyone." Sarah leaned down, her voice dropping to a hiss. "Listen to me, old woman. I don't know what village you wandered in from, but in America, we don't let people like you take up space meant for people like me. So get up now." Mama Elara met her eyes, and for a moment, just a brief flash, something flickered in the old woman's gaze. Something hard, something ancient. "No," Mama Elara said quietly. Sarah's face flushed red. No one said no to her, not her parents, not her professors, not anyone. "What did you just say to me?" Mama Elara picked up her tea and took a slow sip. "I said no, my daughter. I will not move." Something snapped inside Sarah. Later, she would blame it on stress, on exhaustion, on the pressure of medical school. But the truth was simpler than that. Seraphina Grant had never been told no by someone she considered beneath her, and she couldn't handle it. Her hand moved before she could think. Slap. The sound cracked through the coffee shop like thunder. Mama Elara's head snapped to the side. Her tea spilled across the table. The entire room went silent. Every single person stopped what they were doing and stared. Sarah stood frozen, her hand still raised, her chest heaving. "Don't you ever tell me no again," she spat. "You filthy homeless woman. You're nothing, you hear me? Nothing." Mama Elara slowly turned her head back. Her cheek was red where she'd been struck, but she wasn't crying. She wasn't trembling. She was smiling. A small, quiet smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I hear you, my daughter," Mama Elara said softly, "and I will remember." A young man across the room, Cairo Voss, 32, a software engineer who had been working on his laptop, lowered his phone. He had recorded everything. Sarah grabbed her bag and stormed toward the door. "Somebody clean this up," she called over her shoulder, "and get that woman out of here. She smells." The door slammed behind her. Cairo stood up and walked over to Mama Elara. "Ma, are you okay?" he asked gently. "I recorded everything. I can call the police. I can—" Mama Elara raised a hand. "No need, my son," she said calmly. "What is meant to happen will happen." She picked up her Bible and wiped the tea from its cover. "That young woman has a lesson coming, and she will learn it very soon." Cairo frowned. "How can you be so calm? She assaulted you. She humiliated you." Mama Elara looked towards the door where Sarah had disappeared. Her smile returned. But this time, there was something else in it, something knowing. "Because I know something she doesn't." Mama Elara said quietly. What's that? Mama Elara stood slowly gathering her things. I know where she's going, and I know who will be waiting for her when she gets there. She patted Cairo on the shoulder. Thank you for your kindness, my son. Keep that video. You may need it. And with that, Mama Elara walked out of the coffee shop and into the Atlanta morning. Cairo watched her go, confusion written on his face. He didn't know it yet, but he had just witnessed the beginning of the most satisfying karma story Atlanta had ever seen. To understand why Seraphina Grant thought she could slap an old woman in public and walk away, you have to understand how she was raised. Seraphina was born on Independence Day. Her father, Dr. Harlan Grant, always said it was a sign. My daughter will be free, he would tell anyone who listened. Free from struggle, free from limitation, free from the poverty I escaped in Nigeria. Harlan had come to America with nothing. $40 in his pocket, a suitcase full of dreams, and a hunger that never went away. He worked 3 jobs while putting himself through medical school, studied in broom closets, slept in his car, ate rice and beans for years. And he swore that his children would never know that pain. By the time Seraphina was born, Harlan had built a plastic surgery empire, celebrity clients, magazine features, a mansion in Buckhead with 6 bedrooms and a pool. His wife, Vivian, was equally successful, a former Miss Nigeria who had turned her connections into a real estate fortune. Together, they were Atlanta royalty, and Sarah was their princess. From the moment she could walk, Sarah was told she was special. You are a Grant, her mother would say. We don't beg. We don't wait. We take what is ours. Excellence is your birthright, her father would add. Never let anyone make you feel small. They meant well. They wanted to protect their daughter from the racism and struggle they had faced. But somewhere along the way, protection became entitlement. Confidence became arrogance. And Seraphina learned a dangerous lesson. Rules are for other people. When she cheated on a test in 7th grade, her parents donated a new library wing. The incident disappeared. When she crashed her BMW into a mailbox at 17, drunk, her father made a phone call. No charges. When a college professor gave her a B+ instead of an A, her mother threatened to sue. The grade was changed. Every consequence was erased. Every obstacle was removed. And Seraphina grew up believing she was untouchable. You're going to be a great doctor, her father told her when she got into Emory Medical School. The Grant name will be in hospitals across this country. He didn't know how right he was, but not in the way he imagined. Now, as Sarah drove away from that coffee shop, her hand still tingling from the slap, she felt nothing but annoyance. Stupid old woman, she thought, acting like she had rights, acting like she mattered. Her phone buzzed. A text from her best friend, Nadia. Girl, please tell me you didn't just slap someone in Starbucks. It's on Twitter. Sarah rolled her eyes already. She pulled over and checked her phone. Sure enough, there was a video, a grainy shot from across the room, but clearly showing her slapping an old woman. The caption read, Entitled med student assaults elderly woman at Atlanta Starbucks. Someone identify her. Sarah's heart rate spiked, but only for a moment. She'd been in situations like this before. Her father would handle it. He always did. She typed back to Nadia. It's fine. She was being difficult. My dad will make it go away. Then she tossed her phone in the passenger seat and kept driving. 3 months until residency, she thought. Nothing is going to ruin this for me. She had no idea that the old woman she'd slapped had just made a phone call of her own. And the person on the other end was the chief of medicine at Grady Memorial Hospital. Mama Elara Thorne had not always been invisible. There was a time when her name was known in every boardroom in Atlanta. 45 years ago, a young Nigerian woman named Elara stepped off a plane at Hartsfield Airport with a nursing degree and a dream. She had grown up poor in Enugu. Her father was a farmer. Her mother sold vegetables at the market. They had nothing, but they had each other. And they had sacrificed everything to send their brightest daughter to America. Make us proud, her mother had said at the airport, tears streaming down her face. But never forget where you come from. Elara never forgot. She started as a night shift nurse at Grady Memorial Hospital, the same hospital that would one day bear her hidden legacy. The work was brutal. 12-hour shifts, patients who couldn't pay, a system that chewed up young nurses and spit them out. But Elara had something the others didn't. She had vision. She saw the gaps in the system, the inefficiencies, the ways that poor black patients were shuffled aside while wealthy white patients got the best care. And she started writing. Late at night after her shifts, she filled notebooks with ideas, new systems, new processes, new ways to save money without sacrificing care. A senior administrator found one of her notebooks one day. Who wrote this? He demanded. Elara raised her hand, terrified she was about to be fired. Instead, he offered her a meeting. That meeting led to a pilot program. The pilot program led to hospital-wide changes. The changes saved Grady Memorial over $2 million in their first year. Elara was promoted to administrator, then director, then vice president. By the mid-90s, she was the chief operating officer, the highest-ranking black woman in the hospital's history. But she wanted more, not for herself, for her people. She started buying stock quietly, carefully, using every dollar she didn't spend on herself. She convinced other black investors to join her, doctors, lawyers, business owners who shared her vision. Together they formed a silent investment group. And when Grady Memorial faced bankruptcy, Elara's group swooped in. They bought 51% of the hospital. They saved it from closing, and Elara became the majority owner, the secret founder of the hospital's modern era. But she never put her name on a building, never held a press conference, never appeared in the society pages. Instead, she stepped back. She appointed trustees to run the day-to-day operations, and she moved to a modest house in a quiet neighborhood, and she started living simply, the way her mother had taught her. Pride comes before the fall, Mama Elara always said. Let them think I'm nobody. It keeps me honest. Only a handful of people knew the truth. Dr. Barrett Lang, the current chief of medicine, was one of them. He had been a young resident when Elara saved the hospital. He owed her everything. And when Mama Elara called him that morning, the morning after the coffee shop incident, he answered on the first ring. Mama, he said warmly, how are you? I am well, Barrett, she said, but I have a question for you. Anything. Do you have a new resident starting in your program? A young woman named Seraphina Grant. Dr. Lang paused. Yes, actually. She matched with us last month. Very impressive application. Her father made some generous donations to Barrett. His blood went cold. He knew that tone. Yes, Mama. That young woman slapped me in a coffee shop yesterday, called me a filthy homeless woman, told me I was nothing. Silence. Dr. Lang's hand tightened on the phone. She did what? There is a video. It is on the internet. Perhaps you have seen it. I haven't. Find it. Watch it. And then I want you to do something for me. Anything, Mama. Anything. Mama Elara's voice was calm, almost gentle, but underneath it was steel. I want to attend the new resident orientation. I want to speak to them about the history of this hospital, and I want Seraphina Grant to be in the front row. Dr. Lang understood immediately. It will be done. Thank you, Barrett. And one more thing. Yes. Do not warn her. Do not tell anyone who I am. Let her walk into that room thinking she got away with it. A slow smile spread across Dr. Lang's face. Understood, Mama. Good. I will see you in 2 weeks. She hung up. Doctor. Lang sat back in his chair and let out a long breath. He almost felt sorry for Seraphina Grant. Almost. For 14 days, Seraphina Grant lived in blissful ignorance. The video had gone viral, 2.3 million views and counting, but no one had identified her. The footage was grainy. Her face was partially turned, and she'd been wearing sunglasses on her head, which obscured her features. Twitter was outraged. People demanded justice. News outlets picked up the story. But without a name, there was nothing anyone could do. Her father had hired a reputation management firm, just in case. They scrubbed her social media, deleted old photos, created a digital fortress around her identity. You're safe, her father assured her. No one will ever connect you to that video. Sarah believed him. Why wouldn't she? He had always protected her before, so she went back to her life. Brunches with friends, shopping trips to Lenox Square, celebrating her upcoming residency. Grady Memorial is the best program in the Southeast, she bragged to Nadia over cocktails. Do you know how competitive it is? Only 12 spots and I got one. Your dad's donations probably helped, Nadia teased. Sarah shrugged. So what? That's how the world works. Money opens doors, and once I'm in, I'll prove I deserve to be there. She raised her glass. To the future Dr. Seraphina Grant, the best surgeon Atlanta has ever seen. They clinked glasses. 3 days later, Sarah received an email from Grady Memorial. Dear Dr. Grant, welcome to the Grady Memorial Residency Program. Orientation will be held at 9 a.m. in the Morrison Auditorium. Attendance is mandatory. We have a special guest speaker this year, a founding figure in our hospital's history who rarely makes public appearances. This is a unique honor, and we expect all incoming residents to be present and attentive. Please arrive by 8:30 a.m. Professional attire required. We look forward to welcoming you to the Grady family. Sarah smiled. A founding figure, probably some boring old donor. She made a mental note to sit in the back and check her phone. Little did she know, she would be seated in the front row, and the boring old donor would be the woman whose face she had slapped. April Fool's Day. But the joke was about to be on Seraphina Grant. The Morrison Auditorium was beautiful. Mahogany walls, plush velvet seats, a stage framed by burgundy curtains. It looked more like a theater than a hospital lecture hall. Sarah walked in at 8:45, fashionably late as always. She wore a cream Chanel blazer over a silk blouse. Her hair was freshly done. Her makeup was flawless. First impressions matter, she thought. These people need to know who they're dealing with. But when she tried to slip into a seat near the back, a hospital administrator stopped her. Dr. Grant? Sarah turned, surprised. Yes. Dr. Lang has requested that you sit in the front row, reserved seating for our top incoming residents. Sarah's ego swelled. Of course, they know I'm special. Lead the way, she said with a smile. She was escorted to a seat in the center of the front row, directly facing the stage. 11 other residents filled the seats around her, nervous, excited, eager to please. Sarah felt none of that. She felt entitled. This is my kingdom now, she thought. Time to rule. At exactly 9 a.m., the lights dimmed. Dr. Barrett Lang walked onto the stage. He was tall, distinguished, with salt and pepper hair and kind eyes that held a hint of something else today. Something that looked almost like anticipation. Good morning, he said into the microphone, and welcome to Grady Memorial Hospital. Applause. You 12 have been chosen from thousands of applicants. You represent the future of medicine, and over the next 4 years, you will be pushed harder than you've ever been pushed before. Sarah stifled a yawn. Get to the point, old man. But before we begin your journey, I want to introduce you to someone very special. Someone who has shaped this hospital in ways most people will never know. He paused. 40 years ago, Grady Memorial was on the verge of collapse. We were bankrupt, understaffed, ready to close our doors forever. The room was silent. And then an angel appeared. Sarah rolled her eyes. Here we go, some sappy story about charity. This woman started as a night shift nurse. She worked her way up through sheer brilliance and determination. And when our hospital was about to die, she gathered a group of investors and saved us. Dr. Lang's voice grew heavy with emotion. She never asked for recognition, never put her name on a building. She simply served, quietly, faithfully, for decades. He looked directly at the front row, directly at Sarah. Today, for the first time in 15 years, she has agreed to speak publicly. Please welcome the true founder of modern Grady Memorial. The curtains behind him parted. Mama Elara Thorne. Sarah's blood turned to ice. Walking onto that stage, dressed in an elegant emerald green gown, her gray hair wrapped in a stunning golden gel, diamonds sparkling at her ears, was the old woman from the coffee shop, the homeless woman, the woman Sarah had slapped. Mama Elara walked slowly to the center of the stage. Her eyes swept across the audience and then they landed on Sarah and stayed there. A small smile crossed Mama Elara's lips, the same smile she had worn in the coffee shop right after she was slapped. Sarah couldn't breathe. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. No, 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 this wasn't possible. This couldn't be happening. But it was, and it was about to get so much worse. Mama Elara stood at that podium like she had stood there 1,000 times before, because she had. Good morning, my children, she said, her voice warm but powerful. Good morning, the residents echoed, all except Sarah. She couldn't speak. She couldn't move. She was frozen in her seat. staring at the woman whose face she had struck just 2 weeks ago. Mama Elara began her speech. She talked about the hospital's history, about the early days of struggle, and about the importance of humility and service. But every few sentences, her eyes drifted back to Sarah, and each time that small smile returned. She knows, Sarah thought, panic rising in her chest. She knows who I am. 20 minutes passed. The speech was coming to an end. And then Mama Elara said something that made Sarah's soul leave her body. Before I finish, I want to share a recent story about something that happened to me just 2 weeks ago. The room leaned in. I was sitting in a coffee shop, minding my own business, drinking tea, reading my Bible. Sarah's hands started shaking. A young woman approached me. She told me I was taking up space. She told me I didn't belong. She called me filthy homeless. Nothing. Murmurs rippled through the audience, and then she slapped me. Gasps. Sarah wanted to run, but her legs wouldn't work. Now, I am not telling you this story for sympathy, Mama Elara continued. I am telling you this story because it contains a lesson that every doctor in this room must learn. She paused. You see, that young woman looked at me and saw nothing. She saw old clothes and assumed poverty. She saw gray hair and assumed weakness. She saw dark skin and assumed I was beneath her. Her voice hardened. She did not see my decades of service, my sacrifices, my achievements. She did not see the woman who built the very hospital she wants to work in. The room was dead silent. She saw what she wanted to see, and she judged me for it. Mama Elara looked directly at Sarah, their eyes locked. That young woman is in this room right now. Chaos. Every head turned, looking around, trying to identify the villain. Sarah's face was pale. Her hands were trembling. Sweat was beading on her forehead. I will not name her publicly, Mama Elara said. That is not my way. But she knows who she is, and I know who she is. And after this orientation, we will have a conversation. She smiled, that same calm, knowing smile. Because in this hospital, we do not treat people as invisible. We do not judge by appearances. And we do not, under any circumstances, assault elderly women in coffee shops. She let the words hang in the air. That is all. Thank you for listening and welcome to Grady Memorial. Applause erupted, but Sarah didn't hear it. She was already calculating her escape. Could she run? Could she resign before they fired her? Could her father fix this? But before she could move, Dr. Lang was at her side. Dr. Grant, he said quietly, Mama Elara would like to see you in my office now. It wasn't a request. The walk to Dr. Lang's office felt like a death march. Each step echoed in the empty hallway. Each second stretched into eternity. Sarah's mind was racing. Apologize, grovel, blame stress, blame medical school, blame anything, offer money. Her father had money, enough to make anyone forgive. Just survive this. Get through it. Move on. She had never faced a consequence she couldn't escape, and she wasn't about to start now. Dr. Lang opened his office door. After you. Sarah stepped inside. Mama Elara was already there. She sat in a leather chair by the window, looking out at the Atlanta skyline. Her emerald gown glowed in the afternoon light. She didn't turn around. Sit down, child, she said. Sarah sat. Dr. Lang closed the door and stood against the wall, arms crossed. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Mama Elara turned. Her eyes were not angry. They were not vengeful. They were sad. "Do you know why I dress the way I do?" she asked. Sarah shook her head. "Because it reminds me of where I came from. It keeps me humble. It helps me see who people truly are." She leaned forward. "When you approached me in that coffee shop, I watched you. I saw how you cut the line, how you spoke to the barista, how you looked at me with disgust before you even knew my name." Sarah opened her mouth to speak. "Do not interrupt," Mama Elara said firmly. "You will listen." Sarah closed her mouth. "I have built hospitals. I have trained doctors. I have saved more lives than you will ever know. And you looked at me and saw trash." Tears started rolling down Sarah's cheeks. "Please," she whispered, "I'm sorry, I didn't know." "That is exactly the problem," Mama Elara cut in. "You didn't know, and you didn't care to know. You assumed, you judged, and you struck an old woman because she dared to tell you no." She shook her head. "What kind of doctor does that? What kind of person?" Sarah was sobbing now. "I'll do anything. Please don't take this away from me. This residency is everything I've worked for." Mama Elara studied her for a long moment. "Your father called this morning. Did you know that?" Sarah's head snapped up. "He offered me money, $500,000, to make this go away." Sarah felt a flicker of hope. "Maybe." "I declined." The hope shattered. "Some things cannot be bought," Mama Elara said, "and some lessons must be learned the hard way." She nodded to Dr. Lang. He stepped forward holding a folder. "Doctor Grant," he said formally, "based on the video evidence of your assault on Mrs. Thorne and your conduct unbecoming of a Grady Memorial physician, your residency position has been terminated, effective immediately." Sarah's world collapsed. "No, no, you can't do this." "It's already done," Dr. Lang said. "Your medical school has also been notified. Given the viral nature of the video and the now public connection to your identity, they are reviewing your degree status." "My degree?" "You assaulted an elderly woman in public," Dr. Lang said coldly. "Did you think there would be no consequences?" Sarah turned to Mama Elara, desperate. "Please, I'll apologize publicly. I'll donate money. I'll volunteer. Whatever you want. Please don't destroy my life." Mama Elara stood. She walked over to Sarah, and for a moment her eyes softened. "I do not want to destroy your life, child. I want to save it." Sarah looked up, confused. "The path you were on, the arrogance, the cruelty, the entitlement, it would have destroyed you eventually. It would have destroyed your patience. It would have destroyed everyone around you." She placed a hand on Sarah's shoulder. "This is not punishment. This is correction. This is the universe telling you to stop, to reflect, to become someone worthy of the gifts you've been given." Sarah was shaking. "What am I supposed to do now?" Mama Elara smiled gently. "That is not for me to decide. That is for you to discover." She headed toward the door. "But I will tell you this. True greatness is not in titles or positions. It is in how you treat people who can do nothing for you." She paused at the threshold. "Learn that lesson, and maybe someday you will become the doctor you were meant to be." And then she was gone. The news broke 3 days later. Viral coffee shop slapper identified as medical student, residency terminated. And Seraphina Grant's life exploded. The video, which had already been seen by millions, now had a face and a name attached to it. Sarah's social media, which her father's team had tried so hard to scrub, was flooded with hate. Thousands of comments, death threats, strangers showing up at her parents' house. Her father tried to fight back. He hired lawyers, PR specialists, crisis managers. But some bells cannot be unrung. Emory Medical School launched an ethics investigation. Given the assault charge, which was now being pursued by the Atlanta DA, and the overwhelming public evidence, they had no choice. Seraphina Grant's medical degree was suspended pending review. She might never practice medicine again. Her mother blamed the jealous haters. Her father blamed the liberal media. But deep down, Sarah knew the truth. She had done this to herself. All those years of getting away with everything had led to one moment of unchecked cruelty, and that moment had destroyed her. 6 months later, Sarah sat in a community center in southwest Atlanta. She was wearing jeans and a plain t-shirt. No Chanel, no diamonds, no designer anything. She was volunteering at a free health clinic, one that served homeless people and low-income families. It was part of her court-ordered community service. But somewhere along the way, it had become something more. She looked at the patients who came through those doors. People who had nothing. People who had been dismissed and ignored by the world. People who reminded her of the old woman in the coffee shop. And for the first time in her life, Sarah saw them. Really saw them. Not as obstacles, not as inconveniences, not as people beneath her, as human beings. One afternoon, an elderly woman came in with a cough. She was dressed in old clothes, a faded cardigan, simple sandals. She looked almost exactly like Mama Elara had looked that day. Sarah's breath caught, but she didn't look away. She didn't sneer. Instead, she walked over and said, "Good afternoon, Ma. How can I help you today?" The old woman looked up, surprised. No one called her Ma anymore. No one treated her with respect. I have a cough," she said hesitantly. "But I don't have insurance. I can't pay." Sarah smiled gently. "You don't need to pay, Ma. That's what we're here for. Let me take care of you." She spent an hour with that woman, listened to her stories, checked her vitals, made sure she got the medication she needed. And when the woman left, she turned back and said, "Thank you, doctor. You're one of the good ones." Sarah stood there for a long moment after she was gone. Doctor. She wasn't a doctor. Not anymore. Maybe not ever again. But in that moment, she had felt like one. That night, Sarah sat alone in her small apartment. Her parents had cut her off after she refused to sue Mama Elara. She was living on savings and working part-time at the clinic for minimum wage. Her old friends had abandoned her. Her old life was gone. But somehow, she didn't feel empty. She felt different. Lighter. Like a weight she didn't know she was carrying had been lifted. Her phone buzzed, an unknown number. She answered. "Hello, Seraphina Grant." "Yes, this is Dr. Barrett Lang from Grady Memorial." Sarah's heart stopped. Yes, I remember." A pause. "Mama Elara has been watching you. She has people at that clinic who report to her." Sarah didn't know what to say. "She sees what you've been doing, how you've changed, the way you treat patients now." Silence. "She wanted me to tell you something." "What?" Dr. Lang's voice softened. "She said, 'The seed has been planted. Now we wait for it to grow.'" Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. What does that mean? It means there may be a path forward for you. Not now, not soon, but someday. He paused. If you keep walking in the right direction. Sarah's voice cracked. Why? After everything I did, why would she give me another chance? Dr. Lang was quiet for a moment. Then he said, because that's who she is. She doesn't destroy people, Seraphina. She builds them, even when they don't deserve it. He hung up. Sarah sat in the darkness of her apartment, phone still pressed to her ear. For the first time in 6 months, she felt something she hadn't felt since that day in the coffee shop. Hope. Seraphina Grant's journey was far from over. She had lost everything she thought mattered: her career, her status, her family support. But in losing it all, she found something she never knew she was missing: humility, compassion, purpose. Mama Elara Thorne returned to her quiet life. She still dressed simply, still drank tea in coffee shops, still let people underestimate her. Because she knew the truth. The measure of a person is not in their clothes or their titles. It's in how they treat the people the world has forgotten. And as for whether Seraphina ever became a doctor again, whether she ever got that second chance, well, that's a story for another time. If you want to see what happens next to Seraphina, subscribe and hit that notification bell, because karma never forgets, and neither does Mama Elara. In the heart-wrenching tale of Seraphina Grant and Mama Elara Thorne, we uncover a timeless life lesson: the profound danger of judging others by appearances, and the transformative power of humility and empathy. Seraphina, a privileged medical student cloaked in entitlement, saw only rags and irrelevance in the elderly woman sipping tea at a coffee shop, a stranger she dismissed as worthless, unleashing a slap born of unchecked arrogance. Little did she know this homeless figure was the visionary architect of the very hospital where her dreams were set to unfold. A woman who had risen from poverty through quiet brilliance and selfless service. That single act of cruelty unraveled Seraphina's world, stripping away her residency, her degree, and her illusions of invincibility. Yet, in the ashes of her downfall, a seed of redemption took root. Forced into community service, she began to truly see the forgotten souls around her, not as burdens, but as human beings deserving of kindness. The old woman's forgiveness, extended not through vengeance, but through wise correction, illuminated the truth. True greatness lies not in titles, wealth, or status, but in how we treat those who seem to offer us nothing in return. Mama Lara's simple life, veiled in modesty, reminds us that beneath unassuming exteriors often lie stories of extraordinary strength and contribution. This story pierces the soul, urging us to pause before we judge, to extend compassion without expectation, and to recognize that one moment of hubris can shatter a lifetime of ambition, while one act of genuine reflection can rebuild a better self. In a world quick to label and discard, let this be our guiding light. Empathy is the ultimate healer, mending not just others, but our own fractured hearts. If this lesson resonates with you, share your own encounters with unexpected karma or moments of personal growth in the comments below. Your stories inspire us all. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for more uplifting narratives that challenge and change us. Together we can spread the wisdom that truly matters.